Hello, everybody. This is me trying live for the first time, and it's interesting because I'm on my computer instead of being on my phone. So I'm pretty sure the picture quality is going to be different, and I'm already like, "Oh, thank you, Deb." She said, "Thank you for the years of encouragement and fun. It's been really fun to do this." So I'm totally playing around with like lighting right now and stuff and seeing how this is gonna work. Like, that's pretty good. I feel like it's really bright, but I'd rather have it be too bright than not bright enough. And I'm just sitting here knitting, but I'm ready to show you all like whatever you would want to see. I want to show off some of my projects. I'm with you here for the next hour. So I am just, and then this is going to be broadcast later. Anyway, so I've already had a couple of comments in the side, but I am, oh, a suit said nice hair change. Thank you. So I got a cut a couple weeks ago. And okay, this is the weird thing is I am seeing the mirror image of what I normally see here. So I'm like, wait, no, wait, that it's not a mirror image. So um and my kitties, oh, that was my second kitty deciding that he doesn't want to deal with this right now. I thought it'd be cute if they hung out with me. But um Mags O'Hara says hi from Scotland, I think is how I'm interpreting that. That's awesome. I would love if you would chime in and let me know where you're viewing from if you are watching this. Um, I am super excited because I got my flax to sleeve separation. I think I might have to, I got it right. Haha. I think I might have to do a couple more rows before I can try it on because again, since this is not a mirror image, it's gonna be so weird for me. But at least I can see what I'm doing. This is I really only have like 2 or 3 rows. Let me see. Ooh. I'm getting oh, Amy, I know that she's usually in Alabama. We've got New Jersey, Texas, Wisconsin, Arizona, 115 in Phoenix yesterday. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's according to my watch, it's 81 here, which is hot enough for us here, but it's not that hot. I totally know that. Oh, we got BC, Canada, we got British Columbia, and it's hot there. And people are saying hi to each other. That's fun. If you know each other there, please say hi to each other. That is fun. Indiana, that's wonderful. Oh, so Deb, you've got about the same temperature as us out in Wisconsin. That's fantastic. Edith is here. Some of these people are from our virtual sit and stitch we have once a week on Tuesdays. Excuse me. I don't advertise that as much over here on, I almost call this my personal channel. On the channel that's just me doing uh the tips and tricks, and it's not so much about pure entertainment, right? But it's about functional entertainment too, I guess. I don't know. But that's awesome to chime in from where y'all are. If you want to put in if you're knitters or crocheters or both, or if you do other crafts, I'm watching the chat as it goes by, which is really fun. So yeah, I want to put this, I want to try on some sweaters like I did in past weeks, right? I did one a couple of weeks ago where I was just trying on where I got to on things to see where things were. I don't know how much progress I've made on some of those things, but I have lots of things set up to potentially work on. Um, like I said, I'm really excited about this one just to have gotten it to sleeve separation because it took me forever. It really took me forever to get here. And that's because I have a whole bunch of things on needles. We got a multi-crafter, knitting, quilting, um, crochet, and color work. I got thrown off for a second because I read that in the wrong order, but awesome. I keep wanting to get back to I quilted for a hot minute way back in the day, which way back in the day I'm talking about maybe 15 years ago. um I have made 3 queen size quilts in my time, and I totally, like, shoved those things through my regular, Kenmore sewing machine, when I quilted them. I just, like, rolled it up and shoved it through, and I made them for family members, and I've done some smaller quilts, but I haven't really done much with that lately. So, um, we got a knitter. She says slow going as I didn't start until I was 60. We got someone else from Scotland. That's fantastic. Um, Someone else saying they like the hair. Yeah, I got this cut a couple weeks ago, and then I've been trying with, like, more curly up, and today I was like, "Let's see what happens if I just let it do the" I don't know. I'm experimenting. It's fun. Um, but getting back to the slow going and starting when you're older and all of those things, I am a firm believer that knitting takes as long as it takes. And we are all and crochet and all crafts like that, definitely. And we are all faster and slower than somebody else. And so it's real, but it's hard sometimes. I think it's really hard sometimes to not compare and to not um like, I mean, it sounds easy to say make it a competition, but it's really hard sometimes not to do that and not to look to the person next to you. Like, if you're in a knitting group, knitting groups are fantastic for support, but at the same time, you also have it's human nature to be like, well, they finished and I'm just starting, and what's wrong with me? And I'm here to just give you as much love and support and say, like, it takes as long as it takes. And it's not about finishing faster. It for me, it's what brings you joy. And that's going to be different for everybody. So for some people, knitting fast brings you joy. And for some people, not knitting fast is frustration. And it can be really hard to be happy where you are. I understand that too. We have someone else saying mostly knitting, but tatting and some spinning. That's cool. Spinning is something I have not been able to wrap my brain around yet. But um, someone saying you're as fast as you need to be. Yeah, absolutely. I have people who come in and say, so how long is it going to take me to make this blanket? And I don't know. It's really my honest answer is one of those, I cannot predict that. I had someone in the shop last week who said, okay, and they're learning to knit. They said, well, how long would it take you? And I'll just double it. And that's hard to say, sure, that's how it's going to work. So let's see. Crochet, knit, and starting a toe on our very first vanilla sock. Ooh, let me switch to, okay. Um, Someone who's a knitter and just learned to weave at 62. I love that people are coming across new crafts and trying new things at any age. It's really fun. Liz likes to talk about how people have been told that when they retire, they need to start knitting. That's going to work for some people, and it's not going to work for everybody. And some people are going to take to these crafts faster than others or become more agile at them than others. And for me, it really is, what do you want to get out of it? I mean, I have someone who wants to make blankets for all their kids, and that's awesome, or grandkids, and that's awesome. And are you wanting to take it up so you have something that is stress relieving for you? And if that's the case, then then it could add some stress to have well, it needs to be X, Y, and Z. That, for a lot of people, that's not stress relieving. If I need to be a certain speed, or I need to get things done in a certain time, all that kind of stuff, you know. Um, but for some people, the goal of being faster is their stress relief. So the question's going to be different for everybody. Um, so we got Edith saying she crocheted as a teenager and learned to knit when she was 62. We have a lot of people learning to knit in their 60s. Rock on. That's awesome. I quilt, but knitting has taken over my craft time. I hear that, right? What's behind me, actually, as I forget which way to look and point. That's one of the quilts I made. I took a class called kindergarten quilting, and we made small quilts. And that one I still have with me. And I learned how to do the squares and the 9 square and all those other things, and it was so great. It was a quilting shop that, we picked out all our materials at that shop. We brought our sewing machines in every week. It was really cool, and everybody kind of gravitates towards the one either that they have time for or fits their like lifestyle schedule, words, or what, it's really what works for you, and for some people it's doing as many different crafts as possible, and for some people it will be knitting, and for some people it will be crochet or other things entirely. I'm getting into a little bit of block printing, or just printmaking has been really fun, but finding time for that with all the other stuff I'm doing. I'm hoping to get some block printing for the shop at some point, but we'll see. I'm going on vacation. What do I want to take on vacation? And yeah, Deb is saying, or have room for. Like some people would love the floor looms, like she's saying, but having room for that is something else entirely. I just taught a 2 at a time toe up sock class, and I finished these socks because I made them shorties. These were knit at the same time, and I made them shorties. Washington State. It's so fun to see where everyone's chiming in from and watching from. This is really cool. These I decided to go just about an inch or two above where we did the short row heel, and then maybe about an inch or so of ribbing, and finish them off, because I want to make, these are going to be for the shop. These are going to be samples for the shop to show how this yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners knits up like this. And I did them from the inside and the outside of the ball, so they stripe in opposite directions, which I think is really super cute and super fun. But I want a pair of my own socks with this yarn, and so I think this is enough to show people what the yarn does, right? It's not full cuffs, but I find if you're making socks for like an average size foot, you're going to have way more than enough for a full pair of socks from one skein, and I just keep one thing here. I have to close the window because they're doing work outside. I hadn't closed the window before we started because my cat was sitting in the window, but she's out of the window. It was the girl. She's out of the window now, so I can close that. Okay, so get back to this traditional size socks, and then I'll look at some of the comments again. Traditional size socks are that the cuff, if you fold it right here, the cuff is as long as the foot. And this is not the case with these, because I want to be able to make another pair of socks. And I have a size 7 foot, by the way. But I'm pretty sure I can make another shorty pair at least. Thank you for the concern that I might get hot in here. I'm hot in here regardless. It's okay. It actually is hot enough outside. If the window's only open this much, it means that there's no breeze. And I'm not as hot as some of the people I see chiming in from other places. So let me look through some of these comments. So we got Washington State, someone saying they knit and Misha saying she knits and cross stitches. She's knitting a sock. Woohoo! And she learned when she was really little, 4 or 5. That's impressive. I don't teach people to knit until they're about 7, is about my cutoff point. I have taught kids to finger knit, like using their fingers, when they're as little as 4 or 5. And she's been knitting for 45 years. That is fantastic. And I'm so glad you did work up the courage to knit socks. But here's the thing I will say about socks is some people come in feeling like, oh, sorry, this is under my camera, under my computer. Some people come in saying, well, I've been told I need to knit socks. You don't have to. You don't have to. We've got New Mexico. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between the live and what I'm talking about and all that kind and the comments and everything. So, um, I find people either take to socks or like, nope, and you don't ever have to knit socks if you don't want to. But, New Mexico, awesome. Um, and someone said they love to watch me doing a live show. That's awesome. I this is brand new to me, the idea of doing a live show of like how this is different than, I mean, other than I get distracted than me just filming. I welcome all the feedback. If there's any reason you like lives or there things you like to see in a live that I may not be aware of, because I have knitters who watch a lot of the podcasts and give and have feedback on all these other things, and they watch lots of different YouTube shows. I don't. I sometimes look at other people's stuff, but I pretty much am like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and I'm going to wing it. Um I'm so glad that there are people talking to each other on here, and it's really fun. So Atlanta, awesome. Atlanta, I am very familiar with the Atlanta airport. I used to teach over in North Georgia at Rabin Gatnakuchi School, and that was my airport to go home. I would drive 2 hours south to the Atlanta airport. And I've spent some time in other places in Atlanta, but not a lot. So ooh, someone started a blanket this summer. That's awesome. Yes, and I am squirreling. Absolutely. Um and people doing all kinds of crafts. So I started toes. Now, Liz will say this isn't even toes yet, but I've started toes on my second pair of socks. And these were Turkish cast on. So I wrapped one. I had a slip knot and I wrapped one and I slipped it on, and then I did the slip knot and wrapped on the second and got going in a circle. I am using two circular needles, which some people haven't heard of. And I had someone in the shop who said they were chastised at another yarn shop for using two circulars instead of magic loop or something else. And okay, people are chiming in with knitting hats and socks and cowls and garments, and I bounce back and forth between socks and tops, and occasionally I will do shawls. I do them for the shop. I do a few things with my knitting and crocheting because I have to, rather than because I want to. But my happy place lately has really been knit tops, whether they're sweaters or summer tops or cardigans. I haven't done as many cardigans though. But I was talking to a knitter on Coach and Connect yesterday, and she was saying um, that she thought I was an expert at socks and would know all about all these different types of socks. And I'm not. I know some very helpful things and I can guide people through socks. And I am also at the point, I think, where I can help anybody with any pattern, be it virtual or in person. It's always easier to help in person, honestly. But there's a lot of things about socks that I'm not aware of. She brought up the tomato heel sock, and I learned something new yesterday. I had never heard of that before. So, yes, yeah, so many. Nancy's saying she has so many whips, works in progress. She doesn't even know where to begin. Yes. Oh, someone's watching from Belgium. That's cool. So Scotland and Belgium. And if I missed anyone else outside the country too, that's really cool. Inside as well. I mean, I'm just excited that people are watching me. I'm like, what? um, so it's really cool. So, oh, and Deb's saying, give me a thumbs up. Oh, if you want to, that'd be lovely. Um, oh, it's just saying to Nancy, like, what color do you like today? um, a lot of us have multiple projects and going. That's another one of those, like, being a monogamous knitter versus lots and lots of projects. That's something that me, I'm famous. I still have trouble accepting that, but I'll roll with it. That's awesome. So I have a lot of works in progress, and maybe while I'm talking, I can put some of them on and all that kind of fun stuff. But I love helping people with what they're making. I love helping people be creative. And yeah, I was a school teacher for years, and I love that. Like, I saw a comedy routine where they were talking about why teachers teach. And it's that moment where it clicks for people, where that aha moment. And like when I was teaching art and other things, and 10th grade English, that was a different kind of aha moment. But now I teach people how to be creative or how to expand their creativity. I find we are all creative beings. We are all creative, and creative play and just generating things it's so healthy for people. And sometimes you just need a nudge, or sometimes you hit a roadblock, and that's what I'm here for. So, um someone saying they learned knitting from a dinky little kit in Barnes and Noble. Um and a Knitting for Dummies book. I learned, and please, yeah, I'll chime in with how you learned. Like, people learned when they were 4 or 5 from a family member. People ask, um, people ask my mom if she taught me to knit, and she laughs because she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that. She gardens. She has other creative outlets. I learned from the Big Book of Knitting, how to knit. And so I learned from a book as well. And I learned to crochet from a CD-ROM that I bought at Joann's way back when. So, back before YouTube, I learned how to do my really cool way I hold tension when I'm crocheting. I learned that from a CD-ROM, which was the precursor to YouTube, so I totally get it. Yeah. Idaho, cool. Needles on the back burner with a Christmas gift blanket on the hook. Awesome. And Nancy likes orange. And I was like, this whole chat, I was like, I'll chat too. No, I'm just gonna talk. I'm not gonna try to type things that's gonna jam up my flow, man. Um, Annette's doing her third Renunculus. Oh, and thanks, and she's in Bavaria, Germany. Oh, and it's hot there too. Bavaria, that's cool. Um, yeah, it is tough doing the lives this time of day for teachers on a Monday. It's true, but like it's either Sunday or Monday, and I do a lot of other virtual events on Sunday. So maybe you can watch afterwards, but I really love being able to chat with you all like this. This is cool. If this is working for you guys, this is working for me. You guys, that's my New England side. I live in the South now, y'all. It's good to be with y'all. Okay, let's see. Someone learned from grandma when I was 7, Tressacello, and then took 45 years off. That happens too. I will tell you, people who learned when they were young and they come to me saying, I want to restart this, but it's been years, it's been decades. I encourage them and I say, there's probably some muscle memory in there somewhere. There really is. That you'd be surprised if you get back in the rhythm, what comes out. It's really cool to watch someone who says, yeah, it's been years, I don't remember anything. And I start to show them, we start to work together, and their fingers move on their own. It's really, really cool. Sometimes it just takes some encouragement. My mom taught me when I was a tundrum throwing teenager. Yeah, right. I find whoever teaches tends to need to have a patience for everybody. And I've got more patience for my students than for myself sometimes. Don't we all, right? So Edith is saying crocheting from her grandmother, knitting from YouTube. That's awesome. And Deb learned from her grandma. That's very cool. When she was little, I started to crochet years after I learned to knit. And it was because my sister was crocheting at a craft fair that I was at. And I was doing metalwork then. I was not even doing like knit or crochet. But I'm like, if she can crochet, and she's the sciencey one without a crafty bone in her body, which by the way is not true. that was the egotistical side of me talking. Because science and craft are not exclusive, first of all. And my judgment of my sister not being crafty was more a sister thing than a real thing. But I thought if she can do it, I can do it. And I found it wasn't as easy as I thought until it clicked, right? So, oh, Missouri, awesome. Awesome. I'm about to go vacation near the Mississippi River. So, which goes through all those states, right? But way up north in Illinois. So, um, we got someone who learned from their grandmother, and crochet from their grandmother, and knitting from their mother. That's cool to have a multi-generational different craft family. I find a lot of people are coming at it from YouTube now, though. They may not have had family members who could have helped with that. So, um, let's see. Oh, the butterfly. So people have found me because of the ranunculus, because of the butterfly or the papillon, because of pressed flowers. And most of those were specific series of patterns or single patterns in the case of the butterfly, where I could give assistance without threatening the pattern or like the pattern writer's work, or like with the papillon, I had her permission and she knew I wouldn't give away too much of the pattern. That's the only pattern writer of all of those that I know, but that I've met, which is really cool. But it's hard to do stuff on specific patterns. So I'm trying to offer advice and help in other ways. So Gloria learned to knit when she lived in Cape Cod 5 years ago. Um, Oh, so and you wanted to learn to knit so you could make socks. That's cool. Yeah, we've had a few people dive right into socks right off the bat. Not everyone does that, but some people do. It all depends on what excites you. If that doesn't excite you, don't do it. I have a connection to Cape Cod. I have family there. It's a wonderful place. That's very, very cool. So, um, yeah, someone is heavenly me says I hate the judgment that happens in yarn shops sometimes. And hopefully my yarn shop doesn't do that. Like I work really, really hard to like my yarn shop is based on the good and bad experiences I've had in shops. And I want people to feel welcome. I want people to feel like it's a judgment-free zone. I want that comment might be referring to the person who was like that yarn shop was like two circulars. What? And it's like there's so many different ways to to tackle these crafts. There's so many different ways to do it. And two circulars broke my brain for a little while. I started doing socks and small circumference knitting with double points. I learned magic loop, which is one circular going through half and then half, like with a really long loop. It gives you loops on the ends. And I had a knitter friend, shout out to Carol, who did two circulars for her socks. She did toe up. Um and I was like, I don't understand two circulars. That just what? And it took me a minute to get the hang of it. But what I love about it is I have the front and the back. It doesn't look like much right now because they're both on there. I have that on the front half of two socks on one needle and the back half on another needle. And what's going to happen is the back half, I am just going to let that hang. That's a stitch holder. The back half of the stitches is on this needle and both ends are just hanging. And I have set up where I need to start to knit. And I actually will go right to the base of the needle and grab the other side. And you always knit with both ends of the same needle. So this is the same one that I'm holding in my left hand. And then, and I'm not sure, hang on, I'm not sure if I'm on an increase row or not. I think I'm on a set row. But then I bring my yarn from the back forward and I just knit across. Yeah, that's tight. That means I'm on a set row. I just knit across this row and you guys can see just kind of randomness back here. But when I knit across one toe, and it's only one half of one toe, just like that. Now I'm going to pick up the other one and continue across this side. But we're still thinking about knitting in a circle. We're still thinking about knitting in a circle. So when I get to the end of this side, I'm going to turn around and knit back across the other side 2 at a time. So someone's saying they don't have so Tresichello's in a yarn desert. And I hate that when there isn't a local yarn store nearby. There are several near me, but they're at least an hour, hour and a half away. And that helps to reduce competition. But it's tough when there isn't one nearby because it's hard to keep them in business. I'll be completely honest about that. So now that I have finished this side, I'm going to put this in the center. So they're both like on holders. And then I'm going to turn around so the other side is facing me. This is why something like this is very hard to teach because you're not actually looking straight on what I'm doing. You're looking from the other side. But now the other, I can go like, I just knit this stitch, so I have to go to the stitch on the other side. The next stitch I want to knit is on this needle that's facing me now. And I'm going to find the other end of this same needle. And I'm going to start knitting across. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to look at, Deb tried to teach her 9-year-old granddaughter. Okay, so it's frustrated because she's left-handed. My personal philosophy on this, and I know there's other stuff in there, is I'm left-handed, but I don't knit in a different direction. There are a lot of lefties who do. There are a lot of lefties who, instead of having the work move over to the right, the work moves over to the left. They actually do reverse everything. I personally, my philosophy on this, and I have talked about it on the sideshow and stuff. My personal philosophy about this is it's a two-handed craft. And you can go in the opposite direction, but then you have to flip a lot of things, like the decreases need to have them angle the same way. You need to do different things. And so I will strongly encourage, but not force people if they're lefties to just say, just try it the way, again, I call it the traditional way of knitting. Instead of calling it the right-handed way of knitting. But I also, like Stephanus, we have other people who join us on virtual sit and stitch, and they will, they want to knit in the other direction, and that's okay too. That just means you have to do a little more brain work and flip work and figure out how to make things work right for you. I'm still trying to go in order, but I saw someone saying, what size needle? Gloria saying, what size needles are you using? These are US 1s, which are actually, these are 1.5s, I think. These are 2.5 millimeter needles for this. These socks I knit on a 2.5 millimeter. These socks that are somewhere in the middle of, because I was showing people, it's a hot mess with these socks, because in my class, I was showing people how to pick up and maybe hide holes at the edges of your socks. These are zeros. I actually really like knitting on zeros for, which are 2 millimeters, 0 US size, which is like, I think it's a 12 or something bigger in UK sizes. 2 millimeter. I have not gone smaller than that. Yeah, these are the Cheese Whiz socks. I saw that. These are the Velveeta socks, I like to call them. It's a local indie dyer. I'm using what looks like Velveeta or Cheese Whiz for the toes and heels. And this sparkles. Oh, look, it actually does show up on this camera. The in-between color sparkles. But since I don't know exactly where I am on these, I'm not going to pick them up and knit at this moment. But let's see if I can go back to, so Etta, the Tour de Fleece is starting. And for people who don't know what that is, that's like a whole month of spinning, right? It's taking fleece and spinning into yarn. And it's a thing a lot of people do in July. And it's, instead of the Tour de France, it's the Tour de Fleece. And I think that's wonderful. Again, I have not had the patience. I know that sounds silly coming from me, but I have not had the patience to sit down and learn how to spin. And I've been told it's not, it's not as hard as I think it is, which is what I tell people about cabling and lots of other things, right? So, but yeah. Oh man. Um, and yes, I'm seeing the conversation happen about, like, again, if someone wants to think about it as the hand that is pushing and pulling in your knitting needs to be your dominant hand, they can mirror image, they can find resources online for lefties. But I'm the same way with my crochet. Again, I'm a lefty, but I hold the crochet hook in my right hand. And with crocheting, for me, it's more about the left hand actually has to do a lot more work, in my opinion, because it holds the yarn and it holds tension and it kind of has to pull on the fabric and work around the crochet hook. So I'm okay with my left hand doing that. But everyone's going to have their own opinion on that. But I'm squirreling a lot here, but I really try to have everyone do it the same way. And that's not meant to force lefties into a right-handed world. Cuz believe me, I'm a lefty and I feel that in my bones. But I also feel like a lot of lefties are kind of forced to be a little ambidextrous. And so if anyone can adapt to trying things in a way that might not be quite as comfortable, I think it's a lot of lefties. So um but oh, we got someone from Canada. Awesome. It's our second or third person from Canada. That's very cool. And she learned as a teenager from a book and taught you taught your grandmother, or did she teach you? And but that's cool. Um and picking up a lot from different channels. That is very, very cool. Um Nancy said I helped with her Avena with the sleeve and color work. That sounds really familiar. Oh, the lymphedema. Yes, I remember that. That is so cool. That is really, really cool. Um, and so Nancy, you were, because I knew your name looked familiar. You were part of when I was doing the like studio lecture series classes. I'm finding it a little hard to do right now. I'm hoping to do the 2 at a time sock class. I might be able to do a version of that later in the summer or in the fall. I'm still figuring that out. That's a whole nother day of work for me though. So, but I'm so glad it was helpful. Like that's my struggle right now is I want to be helpful and supportive and keeping people going on their crafting journeys. And yet I'm also trying to figure out how to fill my own bucket so I can help others. And that's challenging sometimes. I'm sure people can relate. Um, so more yarn deserts. Yeah, it is really, and there were places that weren't yarn deserts, and then they become that. It's because, like I said, it's really hard to keep shops in business. We do a delicate dance with that. That's one of the reasons I started this channel. Was, I mean, it's not like it's gonna suddenly I can retire because I'm doing a YouTube channel. I'm not that popular, but it's another way to connect to people outside of our area and help people. And I actually really started this channel in 2020 when people couldn't come in for lessons. So it was to try to help locals, but it ended up helping so many more people. It's beyond my wildest dreams. It's really, really cool. Um, so let's see. Misha is a lefty who knits the standard way. I like calling it the standard way too. Yes. Um, okay, that's interesting that you struggled with crochet. I mean, it's not like it's unheard of, not at all. We find a lot of people who crochet first. We usually recommend, so it's opposite. We usually recommend trying continental knitting rather than English style. If in the US you're being taught the English style and it's a struggle. So I will say with crochet, because another question we get in the shop all the time is which one's easier to learn, knit or crochet? And I'm like, usually the answer depends from, if you ask anyone that, the answer will depend on what they learned first. Like I learned to knit first, and I think crochet is a little harder to learn and to teach, but that could be my bias. Um, I love crochet. I find it, if someone who knits goes into crochet thinking like I did, I know how to knit, so this will be easy. It's more challenging. And it is another yarn craft, but they're different. They're different skills. And there's actually more work, I feel like, that your fingers have to do somewhat either independently of or with each other with crochet versus knitting. There's ways you can kind of fudge the knitting a little more, but with crochet, you can fudge the actual crochet a lot more. So, um, Mags, thank you for the recommendations of someone who does left-handed crochet. That's really cool. And in left-handed knitting, if we have resources, share them. That's really very cool. I've again, since I'm kind of ambidextrous by just kind of nature of existing as a lefty, I have helped people with lefty crochet and lefty knitting. It turns my brain around a little bit, but I've managed to be able to assist. It's just not my first go-to. That's, um, so, so it's not like we're right hand stupid. Is what his Trescicello said. Yeah. Um, it's being a lefty means like you just get used to using your right hand for stuff too, but it doesn't mean you have to. And some lefties, it'll make their brain hurt too much. So I totally get that. Um, and okay, so my friend is a crocheter and she wants me to teach her to knit. I mean, so Gloria, what I would recommend is, and I can go back and forth between the two really easily. I have some videos on continental. Again, continental knitting is not my strong suit. I can do it, and I like doing two-handed color work, which is kind of continental with my left hand. My left hand is not the most fluent part of my knitting, though, if I have to hold tension there. And I know how to hold tension in my left hand because I crochet with tension in my left hand. But yes, if there's any challenges, I would say to helping your friend who already knows how to crochet with knitting. Like if someone comes in and I'm teaching them English style knitting and they're just feeling really weird, I'm like, have you crocheted before? Do we need to try the tension in the other hand? So, and so let's see. I'm going through all the comments. I feel like that's all I'm going to do today is go through the comments. I'll try at the end. I was planning on this going till 4, but even if I haven't showed you any of my works in progress yet by 4, I will just start doing that then. But I'm happy to go for a little bit longer. I can't go all day. But um, yeah, I hear that, Deb, when there's stuff that's maybe it's hard when the one that's close to you that, but it's still a drive too, when you feel like you're not welcome there. And I found that some of the shops I had weird interactions with as a customer, now that I know them as shop owners from the other side, I don't think they realize, or they click with certain people and not others. And I can't speak to all yarn shops though, but people are quirky, everybody's quirky everywhere. And in the end, a yarn shop is also retail. And I have seen that a lot of yarn shops, like my shop is coming up on 8 years old. And there are some yarn shops that have been in existence forever. And then there's a lot of yarn shops that have folded out at about 8 years. And sometimes it's burnout. Sometimes it's hard to keep it going. Sometimes it's logistics, but sometimes it is dealing with people all day. Sometimes there's only so much of that you can take. That's why I find recharging is really good. I'm both a people person and I'm an introvert that needs to recharge. But as if I can help it, our shop's not going anywhere. So thank you, Deb, that we are your local yarn shop. We love being your local yarn shop from afar. And Edith is talking about reinforcing the crochet and continental knitting. And Recreational Knitting Podcast says that she recommended our shop to a friend who lives in Brevard. Awesome. We had someone come in who said, yeah, I was told you have an awesome yarn shop. Like she walked in and she's like, so what makes you awesome? And I was like, I don't know. We're not used to tooting our own horns, right? So we were like, we have cool yarn, maybe. we let her we let her roam, and we did our usual, like, this is what we like about yarn and all these other things. And I think she liked it. I think she liked it by the time she left. So, and thank you for recommending the Renunculus. That's very cool. It's like I have people who tell me that other podcasts mention my Renunculus videos, and I'm kind of shocked. But I think it's awesome. And Jenna is chiming in, and she uses our shop as her faraway local yarn shop. And okay, and Gloria, if you're the one who's teaching your friend to knit, who's a crocheter, and if you knit continental, again, hopefully, like, so continental knitting for me as an English knitter, it's easier for me to convey the steps in an English method. But I find if you really you already knit in the way that you want to teach her, which takes a lot of the complication out. But my big thing with how I teach is I try to keep changing the language. I try to keep changing until something clicks, So for me, sometimes with continental, it's about, the needle going in and picking at it, like using the picking language or the wrapping it's finding the language that works. Here's my biggest tip for the difference between knit and crochet. At least the most traditional ways that I know, like, I'm talking from a more Western style of both knit and crochet, is one thing that kind of can throw crocheters off when learning to knit, other than which hand they hold tension is it's fighting their muscle memory. And the same thing with crocheters, if they knit first, it's fighting their muscle memory. Because with crochet, you're going in and you are wrapping your yarn over, comes from the back over your hook. So if you're thinking about how the hook is, if you're looking down the barrel of the hook, you are wrapping it clockwise. You're going in this motion around the hook. And in knitting, you're going in, but you're wrapping the opposite direction. So that can lead to people twisting their stitches, doing a lot of other things, I find. And it all depends. You're tired of making socks for her. That's awesome. I get it. There aren't that many crochet sock patterns, and they feel really different. Than crochet is just a thicker fabric is produced. If you use the same yarn and like the same girth of hook or needle, like the same diameter, crochet has more pulls for the same size stitch. And so it just leads to a thicker stitch. It uses more yarn, and it leads to a thicker fabric when you're done than knitting does. And so that's, in my mind, that's why crochet is more suitable for different things than knit is. Or knit is more suitable for certain thinner garments or thinner shawls than crochet. But it doesn't mean you can make anything with anything when it really boils down to it. So what was I? Oh, the biggest difference, and again, I feel like this fights. I mean, it's not the only difference, but it really fights muscle memory. When you knit and you go to crochet and you're supposed to wrap the hook, you wrap the tool the opposite direction. So going from crochet to knitting, like, so much of it is the same in terms of, if you're doing continental knitting, how you hold tension. Now you have two tools to hold instead of one, though. But when you go into knit, the yarn has to wrap. It's kind of like going under and over instead of over and under. So that can really throw people off, because if they stop to not think about it, their muscle memory can flip back to what they did with crochet, and they end up with twisted stitches. But there's also stuff with combination knitting. There's so many different methods out there that can keep that from happening. So, Jenna was saying that she learned from her grandmother. She made doilies, but I didn't learn, but I didn't. So there you go. Um, so Trizzacello, I don't know if you're referring to my whiteboards. I know. A lot of people miss the color coded whiteboards. And it's just been I did a lot more of those color coded whiteboards when in the early days of COVID, when I had the time to sit down all day and draw those and do those, and I love doing them too. And I'm hoping to get back to them. We've just like we've had we've moved twice in a year. We moved the shop twice in a year. We had Helene hit, and we're still having the impact of Helene economically on our area. Like it's just starting to make a comeback. But sales have been yeah, I can only do so much. I sales have been kind of suppressed since Helene. And in the past week or so, there's been signs that people are coming back to the area. And we don't only survive on tourism, but that is a good chunk of our fall and winter is regulars and visitors. And and so that took a lot of my mental energy to try to get through all of that. And so it could be like I can kind of think with my time off and assess and see if it could be that it's much easier for me to sit and talk to y'all. And like even when I'm filming and not also gabbing with all the comments. It's more manageable for me to sit and talk about what I'm doing than to do all the whiteboards because that takes a whole day. And I miss them too, actually, because I'm still doing stuff with whiteboards for my in-shop classes. And that's where the whole genesis of this channel came from. So we'll see if I can get back to that. But if I do, it really won't be able to be more than one a month. And I used to do them every single week. And that was awesome, but I was hella tired. So, but I hear that. So I will see what I can do. I will see what I can work in with that. Let's see. So Annette, I knit continental and never had any problem with knitting plant fibers, which seems to be a common concern. That's interesting. Maybe the slipperiness or something. There so yes, she's saying there's a lot less movement going on with continental. In theory, yes, continental has less kinetic motion in that you're going in and picking, so there isn't the wrapping motion. So, let's see if this little guy, and I am a sloppy continental knitter. Yeah, she's no pressure. I love being able to explain and have people understand why they're doing what they're doing. So I hear that. And I don't take it as pressure, but I miss them too. I was actually in the middle of doing a corner to corner series with crochet when I suddenly just didn't have the energy to do them anymore. So it'd be awesome to get back to that and do that at some point. Um, so again, this is not going to be the most yeah, it Laura's saying so I'm getting distracted. Laura's saying shorter videos with the whiteboards, maybe 10 minutes. Possibly those that have a lot more editing in them too. So it's if I can make them more bite sized, I will take them under advisement. So, thank you, Maria, for all of your fun emojis there too. So, this is not going to be fluid, but for continental, so at all knit stitches, you go in, but continental, if you can pick it right, like I tend to move this hand a little bit more when I'm doing continental because this is the motion for continental knitting. Like this takes a lot less motion, there's a lot less movement. And really, honestly, only my right hand is moving, even though my left hand is holding tension, right? Um, and what is going on with this stitch? Hang on, I got a weird stitch. There we go, to figure out where that goes. And I didn't continental knit for so long that because I couldn't figure out how to continental purl, which I won't totally address here. Gloria, Class on short rows, not sure how to do them. I do have some videos on German short rows and how they function in sweaters. So if you I might be able to look those up in a second. So if we don't end up, I mean, sometimes just having when I do classes online, it's a lot like this where everyone they might be joining me on Zoom, but I tend to keep them on mute. And I just talk to them and I draw whiteboards and do all those kind of things. And then at the end, there's times for questions and answers. So it's still a little bit like watching a video, but you have a chance to ask questions at the end. Um, so it's not my videos might not be quite the same as taking a class like this, but um we'll see if we can get back to those. But I've tried to do some things for reference, right? Um Yeah, there is, Trescello saying there is one in the Renunculus tutorial series. Those get kind of like it gets lost in all the other things going on, though, I find. But so let me get back to knitting here just to demonstrate. Um, I'm knitting English style right now, and there's different styles of knitting English, just like there's different styles of knitting continental. But continental is often called picking, like what I just did. Um, what I teach people does have a lot more motion because it's the throwing method, but we're going in the same way and then wrapping all the way around. That's a lot of motion, right? And then pulling back to the front. So like this is a lot of motion. I do what's called flicking at this point where I have almost constant tension on this hand and I am just moving my finger. So I can do this. I'm not having to move back and forth here like this though. So my left hand's still not doing much, but it's just really my finger that's doing this. So I feel like even though there's a little more kinetic motion in this, I can do this just about as fast as I can continental knit. I've heard that the lever style where you're holding underneath like and it's still kind of like flicking, but it's a little different. I can't wrap my brain around that one just yet. Um so Edith is mentioning the short rows and the butterfly shawl. Those are wraps and turns for when you're doing garter, where every row is knit and there's a lot of bumps. So I have a really good one on that. I don't pick up my wraps though on that, and because they're hidden in all the bumps. And so I use German short rows when I'm doing stockinette, something like this. Like this has short rows in it. And so the back it has more material than the front. So this has short rows in it, and I use German short rows for that. So short row tutorial above. Did someone put a link in or something? That's fantastic if possible. Let's see. Yeah, and Jenna's talking about different pressure on different parts of the hands depending on which style you're using to knit. Yeah, so the wrap and turn, the only way there's not a hole in your knitting on that one is if you pick up the wrap correctly and knit it with the stitch that you wrapped. And I'm not an expert at that. I find sometimes it looks a little funny. I find even German short rows can look a little funny if it like none of them look absolutely seamless. Like I can see if I can find I'm trying to look for where in this I did some short rows. And okay, this is the back. So in theory, I did the short rows along here. And I think some of them went up and into the they went up and into the arm. So and let's see, we've got episode 6 for the Renunculus. And I'm just looking to see. It's really hard for me to see in here. But I find if you're looking, and I think it's because the yarn is so busy. I find if you've got a yarn that isn't as busy, you will still kind of see where those short rows are, but they won't be like big gaping holes. I did talk in one of my sweater series where it's just whiteboards. I did talk about the theory of how short rows are supposed to work and how you're kind of going back and forth in a balanced manner and getting smaller or bigger, if that's helpful. But if it's how to do those, so Laura says she uses the twin stitches method, and that's one I'm not familiar with. I have had someone ask me about Japanese short rows, and they work in a slightly different way. Yeah, everyone's got their own way. Laura's saying it's harder to see the short rows. Everyone's got their own way of kind of understanding and or making, like, I find different things work for different people. Let me put it that way. So for some people, like when they're trying to hide holes in underarms and socks, what works for one person might not work for another. And yeah, Deb is saying like a non-knitter won't ever see them, and it's very true. But if you lose track of it or drop it or something else, you can end up with yarn overs instead of short rows. Like if you don't have the right tension in that area. Um, this hour's gone by crazy fast. I'm gonna go for a few more minutes because I want to show you how some of my projects are going. Um, but this has been really fun to hang out with y'all, and I definitely want to do this once a month. I'm trying to figure out. So as I'm getting, where did I put? I have a aha. Yeah, someone did trust Shell saying, "Can you see it a mile away riding on a horse?" You know, as I'm putting my flax on barber cord so I can try it on for you. I brought in all this other stuff and just reading the comments and chatting. It was an hour. That's super cool. Two things. The Through the Storm is now on our online website. I brought in my Swift so I could ball this up and start a shawl with it, and I didn't even get to that. Um, but um, but so we did this on the last Monday of the month because I was thinking about doing it on the first Monday of the month, and I'm going to be getting ready to travel next Monday. So that wasn't going to work for me. But I don't know if anyone has a preference of if we do this at the beginning of the month or the end of the month. I've already heard from at least one teacher that this time of day won't work because once they're back in school, because it is a Monday, and I know that won't work for everybody. I just don't know if I can take another Sunday up with my schedule. So I appreciate feedback though. If you want to put in the comments here or let me know later about Sunday versus Monday. But Monday's the day I've been filming for this, which is I think why I chose Monday to do a live. Most people wanted 3, and that's partially, I think, because of different time zones. Is for people who joined us from Scotland and from Germany and all of those places. Someone said Saturday night with wine. Saturday night's rough for me because I've already worked that day, but I like that. I like that idea. Fixing a German short row after dropping them. I have sometimes had success and sometimes not. And sometimes I have to just back it out. But I can ponder that. I will write that down once I'm off camera. Because that is a tough one, definitely. Because that's when you'll have holes. And I did that on my socks a little bit, and I just had to back out my socks. Some of them I was able to fudge, and some of them I'm like, I don't think this is fudging right. So I also I like the comment that says like if someone notices, they're too close. So retired people are saying they don't have they don't have a preference, but either way, we're either going to be at the end of July next time we do this or the beginning of August. I will keep you updated about that. Deb is recommending duplicate stitch over a drop GSR. It's hard with a dropped one though. Like you have to catch some part of it You just might not have the wrap anymore because um, if you don't catch some part of it, you then have a drop stitch because it is over like a whole column. So we would have to figure that out. But um, let's see. I struggled to make Facebook Sunday, so today was awesome. Okay, yeah, that's cool to hear. So, because we do so many things on Sunday that having one option, and for Mags, it's 9 o'clock in the evening. 1 o'clock on a Saturday, I like that. Yes, it's 1 o'clock somewhere. Um, so okay, before we leave today, and part of me would love to do it for longer, but again, I'm trying not to like overtax my bucket and all that. So we'll see moving forward. But this was a really great test. Um, I have put um, put this guy on barber cord so I can try it on. And again, this one, I'll try on a couple of these before we hang up for the day. This one, I really have 2 or 3 rows. So it's better than trying this on. I was telling people in my flax make along, resist the urge to put it on right after you separate sleeves because you won't know. It won't really be a good example of how your sleeves are going because I do backwards loop for that. And backwards loop, you're welcome. I actually really enjoy hanging out with y'all. I just sometimes need to get some rest too. So this has been really fun. I wasn't sure what to expect today, but if you try it on right after you do a backwards loop cast on, this part right here has like no stability to it at all. And right now it's only got a little bit of stability, but it's better than right after I had done it. So, okay. Da-da. So this is how this is gonna fit. Yay. The back is trying to pop up a little, but I promise I've done short rows on the back. So technically I can't reach it. There we go. It's just different stripes from the stripes I'm wearing. So there's some short, but see how stretched out that is right now? That is not a true indication of how the bottom's going to be. But I know my armholes are big enough. That was fantastic to do. I don't think I've shown you all. I finished the sleeves on my luminous summer top. And if you watch the sideshow, I think you've already seen that. But I don't know if you all over here have seen that. So again, if you have a couple more minutes or go back and watch the video, I'm going to post this on the regular YouTube channel. I am, I'm trying to untie my knot here. I'm going to put this one back on barber cords and then slide the other one onto barber cords. I'm so grateful. Thank you. This one is, what I just tried on is Queenland Fiji, which is really, really pretty. I'm doing a lot of random colored or pretty, I untied the wrong barber cord. This is what I get for working, talking and working. I was like, wait, that's my armhole, not my. Dakota, I do too. I try for about an inch. I had just done this right, like when I was having lunch today, right before I came on. So, so yeah, this, I just wanted to show y'all, but I think, yeah, I think this is, it's better to go for about an inch or so. I think an inch gives you much more of a feel of how the fabric is going to hold together. And sometimes you won't get a full feel until you put your sleeves on, because we've talked with people about how when you haven't picked up the stitches for your sleeves, it's a very different thing. My Renunculus, I think I showed y'all my Renunculus. I will, if we hang out for a couple more minutes, I'll try to show you that too. But I put really short sleeves on my Renunculus this time. Yes, no show notes. You know me. I was like, I don't even know what we're going to talk about. I don't have a plan. But y'all had such great comments, and it was fun sharing where you're all from and everything that I don't, yeah. um, but putting short sleeves on my Renunculus sweater gave me a much different fit than if I hadn't. I've done a lot of the short sleeve instructions through the Renunculus lately. And then I have these big gaping underarm holes, and I'm not a fan of my underarms. Let's be completely honest. I have a skin condition that leaves me with scars there, and I don't really like, you know, looking at that or thinking that other people might be seeing that. So, um I'm almost done putting this back on, by the way. So, I wanted to have something that closed that off just a little bit more, and I really like that. That'll be my last sweater to try on. I'm trying on 3 today. It's too hot to try on my key sweater, and I really haven't made any progress on my key sweater. So, this one that I wanna show you, it's got some there's not much to the sleeves once you do sleeve separation. And this is the Luminous Summer top. This one has short rows after sleeve separation. And this is made with Noro Sonata. No, this is not the Sonata Shima. That's what my Ranunculus is in. This one is Noro Natsumeki. And it's a cotton and silk and polyamide blend. And I am at the point where I have done one increase. There's a slight A-frame to the pattern, to the shape of the body. Like it gets just a little bit bigger after sleeve separation. But not a lot. And I'm at the point like on the Sun Dragon Sideshow, my other channel where I'm hanging with my staff. I tried it on right before. I really don't think I've knit at all on it since then. But I tried it on right before we had to say goodbye because it was time to open the shop. And I'm at like about 4 inches. Yeah, Jen is saying that Natsumeki has fabulous color choices, and it does. So, this one is one of the least variety of colors I feel like in it, and that's part of why I knit with it, is so people could see what this one, which doesn't have as many wild colors and it looks like, knit up. And the Luminous Summer, this is by Mini Me Knit Designs. The Luminous Summer top I've made once before. It's upstairs. But I made it with Vivo, which is a Barocco yarn they're not making anymore, which is a bummer. So, I'm making another one so I can show off yarn we have in the shop, because I wear my Vivo one and people go, "That's cool. I want that yarn." And I have to dash their dreams because they don't make it anymore. We have like two skeins left in the shop, which is not enough. And I think they're different colors. So, okay, this one is now on stitch holders, the barber cords, and when I'm on my second ball, they're really big balls of yarn. I'm on my second ball of yarn, and so that I think is the back. When I finished my first ball, before I got really invested in my second ball, I did the sleeve endings, which are just like 3 or 4 rows to just cap it off. And dun, dun, dun. So, nope. The mirror image, the not mirror image thing is super throwing me off. But so here's the shape of this one. And the other one, I didn't talk about it, but the flax has diagonal. It has, again, seeing the flip image of me is really wigging me out. And like this, no, this, okay. It's an overused joke, but it's really bugging me. So this is looking like it's going to be so awesome. This has all over increases instead of the raglan seam. So it just, on certain rows, you just increase everywhere. And this is going to be so light and flowy and yummy. And I'm probably not going to wear a tank top underneath it when I'm done. But these sleeves, they're still, see, you can still see some underarm there, but so they're a little open, but they're not as big as the Renunculus. So I'm loving, yeah, isn't it cool? It's and I'm pretty much just gonna keep, I'm gonna keep going and going. I have this yarn. I mean, this is my second ball, and I think this is gonna need to come way down a lot further. So oh, thank you. Mags is saying the blues look good on me. I appreciate that. I can't decide what color to do my nails next. I either want to do magenta or blue, but they're both calling my name. I've discovered, here's another thing. While I'm trying on, I'm going to get the Renunculus ready and show you that, and then we'll wrap up for the day. But owning the yarn shop and having to knit with colors that I wouldn't necessarily have picked to knit with. I'm always getting the yarn over me the wrong way. Has really opened my eyes to way more colors looking good on me than I thought there would be. You know, like I knit with a lot more yellow than I thought I would. I both knit with the colors I like, and I have to kind of push myself. I mean, blues, lots of people like blues. I like blues too. Not my first choice, but I like blues too. But the shop has really kind of pushed my comfort envelope so that I'm knitting with colors that I'm like, they wouldn't have been my first choice if I was coming in as a customer. And I'm really surprised how many things might look good when you're not expecting them to. But in the end, I'm also spoiled because I own the yarn shop. So if it doesn't, and if I don't end up liking it, I can grab more yarn off the wall. I can have it be a sample and hang there and grab more yarn off the wall. And sometimes when we have our budget to consider, experimenting with colors is hard and it's not going to be comfortable for everybody. And I totally get that. So I am definitely spoiled when it comes to yarn. So I joke that the shop is my stash. And so I get to pick from lots of stuff. I have a stash upstairs as well. I will totally tell you. I have a stash upstairs that's left over from before I opened the shop. And I feel like in some ways I'm not going to knit with that until I retire. So some of it is, or, you know, I'm about to go on vacation. I'm a little torn on bringing yarn from the shop or bringing my personal projects that might be Yarn Baby or might be other yarn from other places. I might try to do both, but lime green, ooh, a lime green sweater would be gorgeous. Gloria's saying she likes lime green, and I have been really pulled towards like grellos lately, like chartreuses and grellos, and I kind of want to make everything in that. And but I'm trying to be good. So but yeah, there's like, I think I'm gonna bring half. I should keep going here because I got this one back on now. I got to get my Renunculus out. Is that what everyone's waiting for? No, that I might bring half shop projects and half personal projects on this trip, and try to only bring a handful. But we'll see what room there is in my suitcase. But that's always, I find, a struggle. And you better believe, okay, I have to figure out where my Renunculus is. I think it's in here. You better believe I'm going to see if there's a yarn shop on vacation that I can visit. So, okay, good. I do have it here. Ta-da! I still have maybe a little over half a skein, or between a half and 2/3 of a skein of this Sonata Shima left. This is the Renunculus I'm making right now. And Sonata Shima is another Noro yarn. I tend to be knitting with a lot of Noro yarns, but the feel of these two is really different. So Trescello's asking what's the fiber content of Noro. Of these Noros, they are both cotton, silk, and polyamide. Noro is most famous for their wools. And their colors are super saturated in their wools. I have give me one sec. I'm going to show you the difference between, I'm knitting with the cottons right now because here it is. Because it's summer, you know, and because it's summer and I want some summer tops, but like this is something I'm knitting with Noro with one of the wool and polyamide. And a lot of theirs are just wool. And there's much more vibrant colors. It's from the cover of the last Noro magazine. This is the Sayun. They all have really fun Japanese names. But this is what the wool colors look like. They are super saturated, and Noro is known for their super vibrant colors. And the Natsumeki is one of the more intense of their cotton colors. But this stuff feels very different. This is the Sonata Shima, and this is the Natsumeki. And they both have the same fibers in them technically, but this one's softer. And I can't remember the percentages. This is, yeah, it is really dangerous. This one is lovely and it's decently soft. It's also more of a DK weight, DK to sport. And this is a sport to fingering weight. And it is, it's yummy. I'm making another, I'm making a top with just a tonal pink. I'm like, I brought that in too. Where did it go? I have too many things in here, all piled around my feet. This is also Sonata, but not Sonata Shima. Sonata Shima changes colors, like has stripes. If there's more than one color, like this is kind of tonal. It's hard to see with the device I'm filming with, but if it's not one that looks like this, that kind of looks like maybe tonal, all one color. If it has any sense of multiple colors in it, it will stripe if it's Noro. This one did not look like this in the twisted skein, and I don't have a twisted skein here to show you, but when I balled it up, it had chunks of color, and I knew pretty much because it's Noro that it was gonna stripe. Okay. So since the Renunculus is one of the things that brought me all the fame and glory, I'm going to show you how my Renunculus is coming last, and then I am going to sign off for the day. So, and this could be a really good model for us moving forward, though, is about an hour of just chatting and then maybe a half hour of hear how my projects are going currently, you know? Yeah, and Jenna, like if you have issues with wool, see Jenna's comment because we talk about that a lot on Sit and Stitch. So it's none of the Noro is superwash, and so some people think it's itchy or scratchy, and people have a love-hate relationship sometimes with Noro, and I don't mean hate, like that's a really strong word, but I know a lot of people who love the Noro colors and struggle with how it feels for them. And I don't think Noro is the roughest wool I've ever worked with, but I'm also not allergic. And they're single ply, which I think can change how scratchy they feel. But again, that's different than an allergy. And when people ask me in general about is a wool or is a yarn itchy or soft, I really find that subjective. I really find that it is hard to answer that question because what I find soft, excuse me, or just not super scratchy, what I find decently soft, comparatively speaking, someone else will find super scratchy. So whenever someone asks me that, I will say that is subjective. And Tressacello saying that baby shampoo, I have heard that baby shampoo can help some yarns feel softer. I don't have experience with that, but I have heard that. So I'm just choking on myself here, but that's okay. All right. So I don't think I've gone much further on this than the last time I tried it on for y'all because again, too many things going. I was working on socks, all this kind of stuff. But I'm just trying to figure out back and front. Okay. Haven't sewn my end in yet, so this is the back. I think somehow that has broken. Like Noro is notorious for like if you pull hard enough on it, it will like before you knit it, if you pull hard enough on it, because most of them are single plies in a way, it could break. So that is shorter than I remember it, but there's still enough to sew in the back. Okay. Whew. Da, da, da. And oh, there we go. It's kind of down in the back. This is long enough that the oversize of this, again, stripey like the other one, but stripey in a different way. Because again, here is the Natsumeki. And then this is the Sonata Shima. And the more I tug on it, the more the stripes might seem to, I'm like, I'm having that mirror image thing problem again. This is a little longer, but look, see those sleeves? You're not seeing my underarms because I put a little short sleeve on them. So my my short sleeves, if I'd followed her instructions, would have ended here. But I added a little bit of length on them. And I'm really happy with it. And I think by the time I finish the rest of my ball, I've only used 2 skeins of Sonata Shima on this, but I think once I finish that one, I'm really gonna like it. So hopefully it'll be long enough. I will keep you all posted on that because I don't know when I'm gonna have time to work on what. I did a Coach and Connect yesterday, which is a paid Zoom thing where we can answer questions and help with specific patterns and stuff like that. And some of that I spent knitting, but I think I was knitting on this guy. And then I have a specific Coach and Connect on this guy this Saturday. So there's a lot going on. But yeah, this feels like a good amount of time. I was gonna do an hour, and that's starting to feel kind. Woo! My throat might be telling me it's time to go. I was gonna do an hour, but then I hadn't showed you any of my projects yet, and I love doing that as part of it. So thank you all for coming, and if you're watching this after the fact, thank you all for coming, for watching it then. Just started to say the same thing again. Thank you. I'm going to do my best. I'm having a vacation with family, and so I will get as much rest as I can in the middle of all that. But stay tuned to my normal channel for when we do this next. So because it'll either be the last Monday of July months, or it will be the first Monday of August. So we will see. I got to do some thinking about that and how much is end up being piled into the end of July. Thank you all for coming. It's really great to hang with y'all. And I'm going to do a check-in next time. I'd love to see if we have some of the same people, if we have new people, where everyone's coming from. And yeah, we're just going to hang. This is going to be great. So thank you all. I will see you either here or in the comments or lots of other places. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I always like to say like, subscribe, all that kind of, I'm not going to say ring the bell, and I don't know, Liz says other stuff, but awesome. And great that y'all could talk to each other. This is a really fun format. I'd like to keep doing once a month. So I will see everybody later. Bye.